The pandemic changed office work. More employees are working from home than ever before. But as the world begins to recover from COVID-19, should things go back to how they were? Do office workers belong in the office? And where are they most productive?
Now, Callum and Vinjeru, can I just ask you how your working lives have changed over the last 18 months? And if you think ahead, sort of COVID restrictions aside, what does your ideal new work model sort of looks like?
I guess like everyone really, I've moved pretty much to a full-time working from home. I'm in San Francisco at the moment, which is where I live at the moment. So in terms of what I would ideally like, it's pretty much this, I suppose. The only difference would be it would be better to have more opportunities for kind of the sort of back and forth of ideas that was more common in the days of 100% office going.
And Vinjeru, what's it been like for you? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you changed jobs in the middle of all of this.
Yes, I actually interviewed for this job remotely, and I'm based in the London office. And I think a lot's been said about the difficulty of hiring and onboarding during lockdowns, but I think I've been pleasantly surprised by the way that it's worked out really well. You know, if you think about your first day or your first week in a new job, you're nervous, you're in a brand new building with a brand new commute, and you're just trying to remember everyone's names. And I think for me, being able to do that from a familiar setting has actually, I think, taken some of that pressure off.
I wondered if you could just talk us through how employees are feeling and how employers are feeling.
I think this has been a huge challenge for employers, and there are definitely mismatches in expectations. What employers want doesn't always align with what employees expect. And if you look at Apple, I think that's probably been the most high profile case. Senior managers want staff to return to the office at least 3 days a week, but you're seeing that employees are really pushing back. And I believe there have been 2 petitions that have been signed by over 1,000 people. A handful of people have actually resigned over this at Apple, and some employees are speaking out publicly. And I think that's really striking, because to have Apple employees speaking out so publicly against their management is almost unprecedented for a company that's been so fiercely private.
It's now becoming a cultural norm that if you are working in a more knowledge-intensive work, white-collar work, basically, that you will be allowed to spend at least some of the week at home. And a company that is saying, we want everyone in the office 5 days a week, will quite quickly run up against a problem where good employees say, I don't want to work here anymore.
Today, most people envision some form of hybrid working, and Gartner predicts that globally, half of all knowledge workers will be remote at least 1 day a week by the end of this year. And, of course, there will be differences in preference. Parents and carers, for example, are more likely to want to work from home a number of days a week. You've got disabled workers who reported finding remote working more accessible. What I found most striking is how race can impact that preference. And this is still an under-researched area. But there was one report by Slack which showed that just 3% of knowledge workers, Black knowledge workers in America, wanted to return to the office full-time. Now that's compared to 21% of their white counterparts.
A lot of workers are talking about, not just a good work-life balance, but also actually a really productive time. Whereas quite a few employers, particularly those who are calling for people to come back a lot, seem to think that actually you do need to physically be somewhere to be productive.
The best mix is not everyone in the office all the time, and it's also not everyone at home all the time. It's sort of a bit of both. And that is because, quite simply, you can have a more efficient division of labor of your working week if you do it that way. So say, for instance, if I'm working from home 2 days a week, on those 2 days, I can do the tasks that really require me to be like by myself, concentrating, not interrupted, and so on. So I can do those on Monday and Friday. And on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I can do the kind of tasks that require collaboration with others.
Should it just be left to workers to figure out how much they individually want to come in? Or is it actually, from an employer's point of view, more helpful to say, everyone should come in on a Tuesday and a Thursday, or everyone in this team should come in on a Tuesday and Thursday, and beyond that, see for yourself.
Teams choosing which days they want to come in is actually quite helpful. And I think it's something that solves the issue of hybrid meetings, which could be a really big challenge. Already we're seeing that there's a lack of consensus around which meetings people should hold in person and which ones people should keep virtual.
I mean, something that I'm hearing more about over here is the idea of mandating days when you're not allowed to come into the office. So you actually you must work from home on Tuesday, for instance. And the reason for that is because it's sort of to try and overcome the biases in sort of promotion and that kind of thing that you might get otherwise. So the original study on this, which was done on the Chinese call center workers, showed that even if people were equally productive, merely going into the office was enough to get yourself a promotion, basically, which is mad, really.
I think the challenge now for companies is to try to find a middle ground that works for all of their employees, but more crucially, one that works for the companies themselves.
Hi, this was part of a digital event produced exclusively for subscribers to The Economist. If you'd like to watch the full discussion of this or of one of our other events, then click the link. You'll just have to register if you haven't already, or you can become an Economist subscriber to enjoy access to all of our journalism. Thanks for watching.